Milady B38. Rahubat, before the master teacher arrived to instruct and guide us, who was the previous being from the same planet who came with the same purpose? There was no other being from the same planet who came with the same purpose. This only happens once in a lifetime, every 24,000 years. And there were other influential, if you want to call them black leaders, people that, had a message and were trying to prepare us in terms of moving away from the six ether forces in terms of the religious mindset and, like the Christianity, the Islam, and just dealing with what people call, they say civil rights and human rights. But the thing is that, you can't fight to have a right to be civil, because we, as the original people on the planet, were and are the civilizers that civilized everyone else. So when you go into ancient, what people call Kemet or Egypt, our ancestors were the ones that were civilizing everyone, hence why many people went to Egypt to study. All right, so this happens only once every 24,000 years. The elders know and have seen the cycles come and go. The moon cycle, sun cycle, which give you the 24,000 years. After 2 moon cycles and 2 sun cycles, then our story is renewed. So there wasn't anyone else from the same planet who came with the same purpose. Yeah, his job, his purpose is unique, because this is the reset, the one that changes everything after 24,000 years. Draco, Rahubat. All right, so King, this is a bit different because I can't post anything, can I? No. Okay. Yeah. I'll send it to you and you can post. Yeah, so welcome everyone. Just want to say thank you to all those loyal to OSM, the people that have been studying, transforming yourself by way of Wu-Sabat and doing the work on yourself. Jojo Rahubat, Sekhetra Rahubat, Grace Rahubat. Yeah, so anyone who's putting Wu-Sabat to work in their being, putting it into action, we want to say well done, keep up the good works, because the way to show that Wu-Sabat is working is by you putting it into practice. You see, so we want to just definitely give you a big shout out for putting the work, the work in your being to help you. Is my crown all right? Here, innit?
You can get our camera and
yeah, let me just fix my crown a little bit. It's come apart. Yeah, I think that's. I think that's better. Yeah. My makeup artist didn't even tell me. Come on, man. Can't have me out here looking at that. Yeah, so I wanted to just big up everyone putting in the work, because no matter how much information we share or how many books we reference and tell you that the master teacher has written, you have to read them and then you have to put them into action. You have to actually do the work. So, okay, who else? Super chat. Sekhet Ra. Appreciate love your donation. You say blessings to the righteous teachers, peace and one love. What is the best book to purchase on all your teachings? we get asked that question so many times. The thing is that your being resonates with a certain book or certain information. There's something that your soul wants to know and will gravitate to a particular book. So you kind of have to look at the titles and let your inner being guide you. There isn't one book, because the whole point of, if you look at the books, they have numbers. Like if you look at the actual facts, they have numbers. If you look at the Supreme Mathematics books, they have numbers. Most of the scrolls have numbers. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle that you have to try and put together to help you with the pieces that you need to build yourself. So it's a part of you being a part of the learning process as well. So the master is like, it's by design, it's like giving you the ability to use your divine being to also kind of like put the puzzle together for you, because only you really know what pieces are missing in your life. So, I mean, we always recommend the classic books that everyone or the majority of people talk about, like The Mind, Your Potential, like the classics like Man from Planet Risk, because people want to know about him being from a planet that you know you're not familiar with or haven't heard of. And so Man from Planet Risk, and these books are classics because they were so ahead of their time, where they were speaking about things that no one else was speaking about at the time. Now a lot of people are saying what he was saying to us many years ago, dealing with many subjects, whether it was, you know, to do with the galaxy, the universe, to do with technology, to do with, you know, science, cloning, extraterrestrials, name it. I mean, he was covering it all. Anunnaki, Sumerian, life and times of, you know, the characters of the Bible, and literally just covering so much information that at the time, literally like almost 100 years ahead. So now a lot of people are coming and regurgitating, or now finding out or talking about those things that he was talking about many years ago, you see. So the source is always the source. So you might hear people speak, but if you trace back and go back to, you know what I mean, like the first time that subject was made popular, you would find a lot of the times that the master teacher was speaking about it. So yeah, whatever book you can get hold of it, because as you read a book, those books reference other books, or that book will reference other books. So you will kind of like, you might be reading something, he will say, okay, go and look at that book as well. And then the puzzle starts to build. There's a question here from Levi Anglin. Why might your step-parents be hostile towards their child for trying to share this knowledge a unconscious soul might need? You have to remember that you have two opposing forces or sides, and we break that down into 9 ether and 6 ether, or agreeable and disagreeable, or people like to say good and bad, meaning that, and I mentioned last week about ascending and descending beings, you know, as above, so below. So you have this duality going on, and the people that want to stay in ignorance or want to stay in belief, they don't want to be open mind, have an open mind to anything else. So if someone is trying to share something new, they will fight against it. You know, people come at us, people come at me, like in all kinds of ways, and we just have to be steadfast in spreading truth. There's nothing more rewarding than teaching and spreading truth. And so that will help people to break away from the spell. So those who fight to stay in it, those who fight to stay in religion, those who fight to stay in belief, because believing something doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. And ignorance, as they say, is bliss, meaning that you don't have to put in the work. Believing means that you allow yourself to be dumbed down to the point where you think or believe somebody else is going to do the work that you need to do. You know, somebody else is going to come and save you. Somebody else has already died for your sins. Somebody else is taking the responsibility for the things that you need to take responsibility for, you see. One of the most difficult things with people who don't like to take accountability. All right, we have a live caller. Live caller, if you would say your name, where you're calling from, and then ask your question, please.
My name is Kerith Muir, and I'm from Jamaica.
Greetings. How are you today?
I'm doing fine.
What's your question for today?
Okay, so since you told me in a last session that the Pleiadians used Yakub to create the Flugerods, they influenced him telepathically. I want to know, so how did they know that he would be the right person for the job to do that? Were they observing him for a very long time?
Yes, like we're all being observed, and this is why your demeanor and your thoughts and basically your aura and what you think and what you do, it changes your mood. So this is why things like getting angry or anger and the negative emotions, they lead you to basically give a particular type of aura, color or energy, yeah? And beings that can see your aura can tell. When somebody's got a negative aura, I went through the colors, obviously like red is one that is a very agitating and a color that basically deals with like anger and lust and the lower vibration. So when you're thinking and the mood you're in can give away your aura. So these beings that they can look at you and see your aura. So they knew, and it only takes like 3 seconds for them to either utilize your vessel, like we call them walk-ins, or to influence your thoughts. This is why sometimes people will do something and they will say,
no, you're saying that they read your thoughts.
Sorry?
You're saying that they read your thoughts.
Yes. Yes, that's why people will say, like, you know, they may do something and said the voices in their head told them to do it. You hear people.
So every single one of us, our thoughts are being monitored by some being out there.
Yeah, thoughts are like, like they have a wave, they have a frequency of vibration, they have a color. You know, they basically. I mean, have you heard when we speak about your four higher senses? So telepathy being one of those is the ability to read people's minds or communicate from mind to mind. So yes, it's possible, and these highly intelligent beings or beings that can do that can actually read your mind. You can even do that if you practice and learn to do so. So in the case of Yakub, he was already angry, and he was already, it's like, if you look at most of the stories, whether it's the Cain and Abel story in the Bible, he was angry as well because his offering wasn't accepted. And a lot of the times when you have arguments with people, or when people just want to get their own way and they don't get their own way, sometimes they start to huff and puff. And in the Quran and in Islam, they call this Nar in Samun, because your being starts to emanate and give off this what they call smokeless gas, and it's an energy around you. Like when you're angry, you know, you can look at someone and they get brown and grey, and you know their aura changes. And when you're in a more celestial state and you're like dealing with higher thoughts or spirituality, then colors like green and blue dealing with yellow, dealing with intellect, or white dealing with purity, these are the colors that will emanate out of you. So when people get angry, people even actually say, I saw red, you know, when they get really angry. And seeing red means that they literally blank out, lose control of the situation, and then may act violently or angrily. And so yes, it's possible for that to happen.
So is every word that we speak and every conversation that we have being monitored as well?
Well, when you say monitored, yeah, there are different types of monitoring. Even just today, just like, you know, you have all these technologies like, you know, cameras, CCTV everywhere. You have face recognition. You have devices that have microphones in them and apps that are listening in. So yes, to a degree, depending on how much you are aware of how intrusive these technologies can be, you know. So yes.
Well, I don't mean like we're being listened to by the government. I mean by otherworldly beings. Is every conversation that we have being monitored by otherworldly beings?
When you say the government, different governments, right, have a hierarchy. And these governments, some of them then have extraterrestrial beings that are at the top of the hierarchy, that are really using certain people as puppets to do their work. So it goes all the way up, and you have beings in crafts, extraterrestrial crafts, that can actually monitor you. In the Man from Planet Risk book, for example, it explains that they can just shine like a beam, if you want to use that term, and yeah, read you. They can read. Remember, you're a biological entity, and you're an electromagnetic being. So you can be read. Everything about you, your thoughts, your aura, your whole body can be read in terms of your organs, everything. So yes, you have a matrix, and everything you do is stored in your matrix. And that matrix, for lack of an explanation, is like, it's like a disc where we, you know, like we used to have compact discs or CDs, right? But you have now, they've got technology that stores information on melanin, and these discs, known as the me discs, they store a lot of information. And with the technologies like the 5G and so much storage power now, you know, your every move is stored on these discs by beings that are on a higher level and using higher technology. Things are
stored. You mean even past moods?
Pardon me?
You mean even past moods, like how I felt in the past? That Absolutely. Information is stored as well?
Everything. And if you read the master teacher has an actual fact, I think is the spiritual you after the physical you dies. It explains to you that these me discs, and even in the Akasha records it goes into that, these are 2 scrolls from the master teacher Partner Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Zio. It explains that everything is stored and recorded. This is where the concept of angels come from, where they say that in Islam they say you have 2 angels, one on your left hand side and one on your right hand side, that are recording everything. But this is actual like technology that is being used to store everything about you. Even when you spit on the floor, anything you do is actually stored and recorded. And when you're transitioning, or when you come to that time where they need to pass, again, for lack of a better word, judgment, they read your discs. That's why religions, where they dip you in water and say you're born again or whatever, and they say that you know, from now on, you're a new person. But a lot of the time, people just carry on and go back and do, not everyone, but people do go back and live and do the things of the world, not realizing that you record everything yourself. Because when you start to look at you, as I keep saying, that electromagnetic semiconductor, your eyes record everything you see as their solar panels, okay? Your hands record everything they touch. Your feet record everywhere they've been and gone. So when the elders are looking at your matrix and looking at your discs, you don't have to say anything. You know, they can just read everything because you record it all. And you know, there's a TV series or Netflix series called Altered Carbon. I've recommended for people to watch many times. They start to delve into showing you how your consciousness is stored and can be transferred, you know, to another body. And even when you're dealing with cloning, there's so many people being cloned and clones all over the place now, because cloning is an ancient technology, to the point where they literally can take DNA from you and create some, you know, a dub or duplicate of you, or several. And there's
So
many ways of
I
storing.
wanna
Sorry,
I
go
wanna
on.
ask something.
Sure.
So when my emotions don't feel as strong as they used to, and I feel exhausted emotionally and spiritually all the time, how is my aura then when I feel that way?
That's what I'm saying. If you get any of our books and study, we break down the different colors, the different auras, and what causes them. So we have a book called Your Fast Track Your Spiritual and Conscious Journey. In there's a whole diagram of the different like colors, and even the master teacher in many books he goes into that, where, like I said before, like moods such as, you know, depressed. When you're depressed, this is why they push things that keep people depressed and keep people on low vibrations, because when you're on low vibrations, those emotions, yeah, they deal with more of the disagreeable and the negative emotions, and that's just energy emotions, because some beings, they actually feed off of the energy that you give off, you see. So when you're raising above to the higher levels, like I said, if we were to start from the bottom, you'll be like the grays and the browns are negative moods. Then you have like the red is very lustful, deals with desires, deals with, you know, gluttony. Then you have like the blue is a spiritual color. The white is also spiritual. The yellow is intellect. The black is like supreme balance. What other colors? Green is very, yeah, like a healing energy, is very positive, health wise. What colors? Orange is, you know, then you have the mixtures of the colors. When you have the primary colors, they mix colors to give you the different combinations of moods. So
What I'm saying is that even if my emotions feel very exhausted and I'm spiritually exhausted, they'd still be able to read me well, even when I'm slightly angry.
Yeah, and then in any situation they can read you. That's why it's better to be, they read you, but what I'm saying is they utilize your moods for their own benefit if you're giving off the energy that they want. If you're giving off of a high energy, a high vibration, and they don't exist on those levels, they don't, that energy is not what they want to feed off of. So that's why we say stay positive, stay joyful, don't be fearful, because fear is one of those, you know, those emotions that they like. They use fear, they use depression, they use, you know, negative anger. These are the emotions that some of these beings want, because it keeps you on a low vibration. Whereas when you rise to the higher vibrations, then you're tapping into your intellect, as I mentioned, the higher vibration. You're tapping into your mind. You're tapping into healing yourself. You're tapping into connecting with beings that are going to give you positive thoughts and positive messages, so you can do positive things, you see. So It's about trying to, keep yourself in that positive, agreeable, happy, joyful, fearless mood, because they can't feed off of you
So,
that way and drain you.
yes, so this is something I want to know for sure.
Yeah.
There are beings out there that are trying to control us. Whether you say there are beings out there that try to force religion onto us and stuff like that. I mean,
The thing is, they're not forcing anything. What's happening is, without you knowing or not having the knowledge, you're susceptible to it. So the whole point is for you to have knowledge, because knowledge is what's going to give you the ability to discern and make decisions that breaks you away from being controlled or from the spell. You see, so the ignorance is what they literally use people's ignorance to control them. Because if you don't know something and you're not aware of it, ignorance just means, when you say to people you're ignorant, all it means is you don't have the knowledge, or you're not aware, or you're ignoring it. It's there, but you ignore it. So someone can say to you, for example, like, in order to maintain a high vibration and a high positive attitude, mental attitude, you have to have positive thoughts. You have to eat foods that are electric or that are alkaline. You have to do positive things to help humanity. You have to avoid the negative emotions, right? Someone can tell you all of this, but you may not take it seriously or apply it. Someone who does, they get the benefits when you say go and exercise, eat well, stop the vices that are going to make you sick or ill, because you then disconnect from your spiritual being, because your spiritual being is on a high vibration. And if you get sick on that, then it normally manifests in your physical body, because they're all interrelated and interconnected, you see. So you are responsible for your mood and what you do. And sometimes people would like to put it on other people and say it's their fault why they're acting or behaving the way they do. And this is where you have to learn to have control over yourself, over your being. Does that make sense?
okay, yes. So one of the times you were talking about like the being that people call Jesus, and you said this isn't necessarily the being that we should go to.
What's the question?
Like, is Jesus Christ the being that we're supposed to go to for salvation?
Well, the thing is, you say we and supposed to go to. Who's the we that you're talking about? And go to where?
We as
When?
human beings.
Sorry?
We as human beings.
But when you say go to where? When? How?
Well, simply because most of us, we just grew up in this Christian religion telling us
No,
that we're supposed to serve.
What I mean is, are you saying, like, if I said go to him now, today, where? Where are you going to go to? Or would you mean go to him? Because where is he, for a start?
Well, Christianity teaches that he's in the heavens.
Okay, so can you go to him in the heavens now?
No.
Right, this is why I did it that way, to show you, like, sometimes we say things and we have to use our mind and our knowledge to see if it makes sense. So when you say go to him, you can't go to him if you don't know where he is, or what. Like, this is a story. Like, that's what I'm saying. Religions and, like, books that are written to enforce a belief system, it's just that. It's just beliefs. So how can you go to someone or go, and then when you probe and you start to ask questions, people will say he's everywhere. But you're like, how can he be everywhere? Is he physical or is he not physical? And these are the questions that will lead you to realizing that it's not making sense. It's something that was designed to have you trapped and to believe something that is not real. So no, we don't say go to Jesus because we know that like that's a religious character in a religious book. Even if the person that they're basing the character off walked here years ago, he was a real person that would have walked, ate, and went through the experience that you're going through right now. And we know that person to be the person known as Ha or Hora in ancient Egypt. So that's what I'm saying. Depending on who you are calling Jesus, who you are referring to, and which book you're getting the reference to, you know, you can, you can actually just do the research, you know, because we have a video already out explaining and breaking down the death, life, wife, and children of Jesus, right? The Christ, which is this scroll, the Master's Secret, because you have to get rid of like the belief and deal with the facts of who are we talking about. You see, so we're not a religious organization. We teach the facts about religion, and we teach the facts about the characters in the books that these religions mention, because they really are basically concocted from the Abrahamic religions are coming from the Sumerian doctrines, which themselves are borrowed from ancient Egyptian doctrines. So you have to get to the bottom of who you're talking about.
Okay. And my last question is, so the beings that we would coin as gods, they don't necessarily have the right to control us human beings. Am I correct?
That's right, in the sense that you have to take control of your being as you are the god and the goddesses that they're channeling your energy towards them. So once you know that, then you have to learn and have the ability to protect yourself from these disagreeable beings. And Wu-Sabat is the way to do that. And the teachings of Wu-Sabat by way of Parnabab Yanun. That's why he puts out the information so that you can learn what to do.
Okay.
You follow?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
All right. Okay, if you haven't pressed the like button, please do so, because this is how we reach people, and each one teach one, each one reach one. So please help us by pressing the like button so we can also help you. All right, let's go back to the questions.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so you know, anything from the bottom is what's said before, and the new ones are at the top. I know it's
Okay.
different.
I have 2 sets though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm going through them from the top down. Yeah, welcome Anton, Neil, and all the new people joining. Freedom Master Teacher, of course. Thank you. Back 78. We have to always keep that the main thing. Let everyone know that it's all about Freedom Master Teacher, Parnabab Yanun, or more appropriately, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. All right. Last storyteller, Horus. Rahubat OSM Wisata Watford, providing the best channel to learn true facts and knowledge taught by the one and only Master Teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. 100%. Milady, okay, I answered that one already. Okay, if this character called Jesus was a melanated character, why did he let his people be hung, burned in pits, raped, and treated inhumanely? Where was this This is what I'm saying. Is like, I mean, the way the question is phrased is like, because you're a melanated being, doesn't mean that people or disagreeable beings are not going to do what they do. People have this fictitious impression of the character, as if it's like we're beings on the planet, right? Physical beings. And you can name any being, any physical being that has come to the planet to liberate, share information, teach people and bring them to a higher conscious level. And they've been persecuted. That's like, even till today, we can name every person you can think of, whether it was from Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, and that's just dealing with the Nagaru or the Negroes, and of course, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York as well. And as you say, to Jesus, to name anyone, there's the two sides where the reason it happens is because even like today, the majority of people are beguiled and easily influenced to go down the disagreeable or the negative and not help and support to build. And like, for example, even with what we're doing with Wu-Sabat, spreading this information, this truth, you know, most people spend their time on channels that are going to give them, you know, nonsense content, in the sense of it's all about fun, it's all about like things that are not so serious. And I'm not saying people shouldn't have fun, but when you start to talk truths and talk about the serious things that are going on in the world, you know, how many people would prefer to just ignore it and just deal with having fun and just doing, you know, things that are not going to help them really elevate on a higher conscious level. So there's no wave the magic wand and everything is done. So the trials and tribulations are real. You know, that's what makes you God, in the sense of being able to have the ability to deal with every circumstance or situation you're in and overcome it, overcome the negative or the disagreeable beings. So like you said, even in Jesus' time, according to the Bible, he was trying to teach and heal and bring people good news, but he had to face the Romans and you know, the Pharisees and the Sanhedrins and the people that were trying to, you know what I mean, unalive him for saying that he is a son of God or God. You see, so it's the same for us today. And you can see that because there's the same thing that's played out with every leader that has tried to wake you up. But unfortunately, there are people today that are waking up, that are seeing through, you know, all the control mechanism and the beings that are trying to run the planet, run the world, and control you and put fear into you and, you know, basically have you channeling your energy to feed their objectives. One piece is about the ancient world and how the land changes and ocean rise, the pole shift. Yes, it's a known thing. They will use media to create false narratives of them to help. Right, exactly. I'm trying to find the questions. Hit the like button, please, and subscribe. I'm trying to move forward. It's not moving. Yeah, today's look, let's see, it's getting stuck. Have a look at
This one, yeah, this one.
Okay, where's the other one?
These ones.
Okay, shall I use that one instead?
Can do. So this
We're trying out a few different things today. We're streaming to all the platforms: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah.
And this is just YouTube.
So yeah, we're trying to reach as many of you as possible. All right, so bear with us as we adjust to this new platforms. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, we covered that already. Yeah, here we go. Is the language class available to purchase? If so, how many? Yeah, it is. We're going to post a link in the chat. And I'm glad you mentioned the language, because as my brother that was from Jamaica was asking the question, we know that the reason a lot of people do get easily influenced is because of the vibrations and the frequencies that are being sent by way of the language and the language that we speak, the tones and the vibrations that, you know, we're constantly under. So learning our language is one of the best ways to get your body to basically vibrate on the right frequency and to be able to block out the distractions and the tones that are conducive for your well-being. This is the same thing that was happening in the story in Genesis 11 of the Tower of Babel, which a lot of people are familiar with. Yeah, that was not so much about the tower, but it was about the language. And because the Anunnaki were sending frequencies telepathically to influence the people and have them controlled. So this is happening today because you're bombarded by frequencies all the time, whether it's radio frequencies, radio waves, you know, the whole electromagnetic spectrum, the frequencies are constantly coming at you. So by speaking the right language, it recalibrates your being and has you vibrating in a way that you can build what we call a psychic self-defense. And that's what happened in that Tower of Babel story, where Nimrod was able to teach his people the same language, the tones of Mispatia or Nuwapic, and the Anunnaki that were in the craft, Nibiru, were no longer able to have the influence on the people, like telepathically influence them. And so they were able to block those frequencies. We've already got a video on the power of talking of the language. And so, yeah, asking the question about learning the language, that's something that is so important in this day and age. I've lost the thing again. Yeah, I've got it. So let me post the link for the language course, and you should definitely join our Telegram group so that you can speak it and join the Telegram group that teach the language every day. The language course literally gives you a structured way of learning to speak fluently in 6 months. It tests you. It's a very, you know what I mean, very, very well-designed course. So I've posted the link in the chat. Okay, got another question. So that was for you, last storyteller, Horus Ra 7565. Is the language class available to purchase? If so, how many I purchase? How may I purchase it? Or I put the link in the chat. Sekhet Ra, Rahubat, in the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti, page 36, starting with Shawabti, is this passage just describing how Tahuti incarnated? Please explain. Thank you. Have I got it? Let me just find it. And whilst I'm looking for it, yeah, I've got it. Right, let's have a look. So page 36. Okay, so it says, I'm going to read. So the bit you're asking about is near a third down. Let me go back a little bit. So I'm going to read from the sick were taken to his temple by family and friends. Khonsu cured all their illnesses, because to us Egyptians all illnesses were caused by the demons. 1, virus. 2, microbes. 3, germs. 4, bacteria. As 1, jinn. 2, demons. 3, evil spirits. 4, devils. Getting into the human body by way of its openings, the nostrils, mouth, eyes, ears, genitals, or open cuts or sores, and from your waist tracts. He also had his power transferred into a shawapti. Yeah, that's the bit you're referring to. The great one, smaller statue, that he imparted his hanu or movement power into, so that he would be there to ward off evil attacking anywhere. Right, so yeah, so the question is this passage just describing how Tahuti incarnated? No, it's a channeling of energy. This is why we keep explaining about the energy, that there are rituals and things we do where you can remove or channel energy out of you. So like the diseases and the problems that you have physically, a lot of times that's because you've opened yourself up, or entities with a vibration are able to walk into you, or the gases, the 6 ether forces, gases that are around, you're allowing them to enter your being. There are many ways that you can do this, and so there are rituals you can do where you can literally remove that energy or channel it out of yourself. A simple way would be like, like if you start to get a fever, yeah, a fever is caused by a chain reaction of things. So you might have, a disease, or your temperature, you're stressed, or, something has to happen physically or some of the things you may have eaten. So you put things into yourself, and there are ways you can cleanse to get rid of them. Well, you can do the same thing when it comes to energy. And I picked up this scroll by, sometimes I just grab any scroll, and I've got this here called The Science of Healing. Yeah. Oh, I did have it. The Science of Healing is one of the scrolls that the master put out a long time ago that helps you with, there you go, the Science of Healing. And in this Science of Healing, he actually gives you, instructions and clear guidance of how to do what I'm talking about, which is remove or channel that energy into releasing it out or into something else. So that's what that's referring to. So it's more about the channeling, and with energy you can, like we always say, you can't destroy energy, but what you can do is transform it, channel it, trap it. You follow? Yeah, dark awakening. Yeah, God is just a word humans made. That's so true. And this is why when we ask, did God create humans or did humans create God? And when you look at it simply like that, in terms of words, is that somebody came up with that word. Somebody made up that word. It's like the word is in English now, but it comes from the German word gut, right? So whoever created that word created God. And even though it's said as a word, it's also an acronym, G-O-D, and in Masonry, they use the terms Goma, Oz, and Dabar, which deals with wisdom, strength, and beauty. Then, depending on who uses it now, they basically turn it into other things. So then you start to break it into other languages like Hebrew, and you get the Elohim, and then, you know, it just goes on and on and on, and different languages, different cultures then use it. You know, it's just the same thing with the devil. Like, you're saying the devil in English, so whoever came up with that word, those letters to put together, is the person that created the devil. So God is created by man and not the other way around. Yeah, so that's a good point that you're making, Dark Awakening X9710. It is just a word, but that word then has a vibration, a frequency and energy behind it. And it can be enforced to the point where a lot of people accept and believe it. So therefore, what they're doing is amplifying that energy to these beings that you're calling on, and not realizing that you're actually helping them to keep you enslaved mentally. Last storyteller again. Tawat Saken for the information on the language class. No problem. Na'ut Shakal. Unfolded Bible, sorry. If God is only a human-made word, then by what non-human standard are the Anunnaki considered higher beings at all? Intelligence, consciousness, more. Yeah, it's just intelligence. It's like tools that you have that make you perhaps appear more superior than someone else. So, for example, technology is one of those things. Like, if you have superior technology, then somebody might look at you like you're above them. So when you look at even today, the different countries, like we're talking about war, and some countries have certain weapons, and like that, you know, when we start to deal with atomic weapons and stuff, that they would make another country feel like they're obviously superior to them. So it is about the intelligence, the technology, and the ability to know, really, because even in the Bible, remember, it said that God was trying to hide from Adam and Eve the ability to become like him, to know, to know good from evil. So the lie was told to them to not eat the fruit, because if they did, the lie was that they would die. And then someone else came along and said, no, you're not going to die. He just doesn't want you to know what he knows. And if you bring that to today, it's the same thing, where you have a hierarchy and people can say security clearance or national security, or whatever terms they use to say, we know this information about extraterrestrials, about UFOs, about all kinds of things, but we're not going to tell you, and keep you, you know, blinded. And when you try to probe or want to find out, or want to know, then you like, you know, seen as a troublemaker. Or so it's all about knowledge. That's why we teach everyone. Anyone comes on the OSM channel, we teach them the truth, and we teach them and give them the knowledge, and you are empowered to go and do the research for yourself, and don't be like influenced by a group of people that belong to a group or club that say we're right, everyone else is wrong, you know. And the only way you're going to know is if you check it out for yourself. Don't believe us, check it out for yourself, because that's how you discover and uncover things and know things. And once you know something, no one's going to be able to kind of like trick you or tell you different. Yeah, you're right, Dark Awakening. They're older, more developed, and they're able to use more of their brain capacity, and they have advanced technology. Okay, the real Apis, Grand Rising Saken from Australia. Rahubat Zamal, quick question, bro. What is the definition of Ptah and Usir incarnated to Apis bull? Okay, yeah, that's a great question, and Sorry about that. That question is great. So this is where a lot of the stories that end up being remixed and told in religions come from. So Ptah and Osir, or it becomes known as Asar, these are great ancestors in ancient Egypt that were responsible for many things, for the knowledge. When we're talking about the incarnation and the
For many things.
I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so their natures. Trying to find a scroll where I can maybe refer to. Can you tell me the real Apis if you're coming from a particular scroll, or you're just asking in general? Because if it's a scroll, I can go to it and then we can break it down more. But a lot of the animals that were used were really dealing with their nature and their character. So when you say what is the definition, so Ptah would be dealing with the opener, the first one to know. Let me see, actually I can find some more information in this Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti. Bear with me whilst I look for it. And Osir, of course, was the part of the royal family where, as I was saying, that they get grafted into religion. You know, from his story, Ashta and Haru or Hara. On the lives, I try not to go into the scrolls too much because it can take up time trying to find the information. Yeah, so if you can help me, if you have a reference or a particular scroll that you're coming from, it would help. But I know in the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti, it does go into I can't find it right now. No, I can't find it. Yeah, if you can help me with the reference, we can revisit that a bit later. Nadum. Okay. Remember, you can call in live if you want to ask your question live. Sometimes it's clearer. The number is in the chat, but I'll repeat it. You can use WhatsApp to call. If you're calling from outside the UK, it's +44 753 996 3882. That's +44 753 996 3882. You can call in and ask your question live, all right? Can you please... Okay, I've got another question. Oh, you said... Yeah, we covered that one already. Rahubat Sakin, can you please elaborate on what that of a reptilian we are as Nagaru you compare to other reptilian races? Okay. Someone beat you to the... We got a call live, so I'm going to take that. That's Keith Binner. Hold tight. Live caller, what's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question, please? Live caller?
They've muted themselves.
They're muted.
They muted themselves.
Oh, you're muted. Do you want to unmute? Okay. Rahubat, you there? Caller?
I'm here.
Greetings. How are you doing today? What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your question, please?
They keep muting themselves.
Yeah, it seems like you keep muting yourself. All right.
Are we there?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Greetings, Samal.
Greetings. Rahubat.
Again, this is Delilah from the United States, Florida.
Yeah, hi, Rahubat.
I first would like to say I really appreciate the 12-12 teaching. I've been listening for a while, and all three of you all together was just amazing. Answered so many questions that I had. Well, not necessarily questions, but it was so much great information. However, my question is coming from that teaching on 12-12. One of you all spoke about, there was a question from the narrator about the being, looking into the mirror with the being and seeing yourself or understanding yourself. I'm sure I'm not asking it properly. However, I wanted to know the scroll that I could find to get more information on that, because I've heard it mentioned before, and I was like, okay, and I wrote the question down. So I wanted information on that.
Okay.
And I also wanted to know, well, I'll remember the next question, but yeah, I wanted to know about that. And if you can elaborate on it a little bit, but I also want to know the scroll information, and I'll get it. But again, thank you all so much. That was really good. I didn't get it live. I went back and rewatched it, and it was just amazing. I really appreciate everything you all are doing. And thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. And share it, please. Share it and comment. And yeah, let's just get it to the world. We've got even more coming for you. But yeah, to answer your question, we keep emphasizing to people that the Master Teacher Partner Babyanun is both a 360 degree, which represents completion, spiritual being or the unseen world, as well as a 360 degree being that deals with the physical world, which is also representation of completion. And the 360 plus 360 gives him a 720 degree being, because he's also able to teach you about spiritual matters or anything to do with what we consider the unseen world. And therefore, these spiritual matters or things that deal with the real you, the esoteric you, the real being within you, not just your physical being, these lessons are taught through different orders. And one of the lessons that we're referring to from the ancient Egyptian order was that exercise, and also from other orders he had before, like the Sons of the Green Light and other spiritual orders, because most, even when you look at religion, there was always a serious side which dealt with spirituality. So, you know, like the Essenes, the Gnostics, the Sufi order. There are many aspects of the spiritual side of things, even in ancient Egypt, with what we know as the higher mysteries. These were dealing with the esoteric knowledge about your inner being. So one of the exercises that was taught to us throughout many of the orders is the mirror one that you're referring to, which is an exercise you do where you look at yourself in the mirror in real great detail, like study the being in the mirror, look at your eyes, look at your nose, look at the shape of your face, and as you are focusing and concentrating on that being in the mirror, you then realize and get the feeling that there are two different people there at that particular moment. There is the physical you that you're you know, wherever you are, sitting, looking into the mirror, that being is separate from the one in the mirror. You start to get that sense and that purpose of the one in the mirror looking out is the real you. And that exercise helps you to, and if you concentrate really hard, not to put any, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to influence you in any way, but you will see and experience different things in terms of that what you see in the mirror and the being that you see. Because remember, most people have never really seen themselves, their real being, and what you're seeing is reflection of light because of the way the eye works. The eyes are giving you images and things that you're seeing, but they're literally fractals or reflections of light bouncing off of energy vibrations. So most people have never really seen their true self. So this exercise in the mirror actually helps you to connect with that being. And you may see something that you didn't expect to see. So that is not in a specific scroll. It's in the, well, it is a scroll, but not scrolls that were available, but through these orders, which later on metamorphosized, or some of those lessons like were made available. So for example, the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek was another order, and there were lessons within that eventually were available for people that didn't experience it the first time, but they also then metamorphosized into, as I said, the other orders like the ancient Egyptian order and other orders that we have. And we always encourage people to get close to the family, get close to your nearest store, get close to being able to work your way into some of these orders where you're going to be taught and taken further in your learning on more of the esoteric spiritual aspects of your being, you know. So that's what that was about. I hope that helps. If it doesn't, you can probe and we can give you more. Is she still on the line?
Yes,
Okay.
it does help. One last thing, the other question came to my mind while you were speaking. Um, regarding the language,
Tua.
is that app available now?
It is, yeah. We posted the link in the chat.
Okay, I did receive an email regarding the update on it on,
Right.
what is your website for the
Yeah, from the,
disruptive?
that's correct. Yes, that's right. And anyone that is on the mailing list, or in the Telegram group or any of our groups, you know, we always update and post links in there. There are many, many ways of learning the language. This is something that we put together because of the request and to have it structured. But yeah, we put it all together in one package for you to be able to learn in your own pace, and it's constantly updated as well. So yeah, we want to get feedback from people already doing it as well. We see that a lot of people are taking it on board, which is great. So yeah, let us know how you get on. And if you have any issues, there is a phone number on the bottom left-hand side where you can always interact or send messages. And yeah, we will deal with any queries you may have.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Samal. I do appreciate your time. And again,
You're welcome.
very good teaching, and I will be sharing it.
Thanks. All right, Wadu.
Wadu.
Where were we? I was on. Oh yeah, that's it. The question was about the reptilian. Can you please? This is from Kifar Bina 6445. Rawabat Saken, can you please elaborate on what that of reptilian we are as Nagaru compared to other reptilian races, Zamal? Okay, so we have tied into the different evolutions of different species because they have also mixed their DNA with us. When we say reptilian, we're coming from the point of view that we have scales, we have a need for water, right? We're constantly in water. And even when you look at when you're in the womb of your mother, in fact, from the beginning, when the sperm gushes out from your parent, from your father, that is liquid, that's water. And those tadpole looking like entities, sperms, they gush and rush out, and then they go into the ovum of the woman, and it's a race to who gets there first. And sometimes you have, twins, or, sometimes more, triplets, etc. So you're in the womb and you're in a sack of water. You're breathing in water, you have gills, and you live in that sack of water for, as most people know, 9 months. And then when the waters break, that's when you come out. But even though you come out, you still come out to an atmosphere predominantly composed of water, right? Because the air we breathe is a lighter form of water. Even the planet has more water than what people call Earth. What you're calling the atmosphere, the clouds, all the way till even the whole planet having an abundance of hydrogen. Hydrogen is hydro deals with water. We're in like a biosphere with different climates. So we are reptilians in that way because we drink water. We need to drink water to stay hydrated. We have to constantly have like showers or baths, or we like to go to the swimming pool or go to the beach. We have an obsession with water because if we don't, we will dehydrate. And if you start to look at your skin properly, you see that you're porous and you have scales. And our hands have webs. When you look at your armpits, they have webs. Like here, this used to be webs. It's just that we've obviously got other parts of us. So we evolve in the womb from being a reptilian being. Even when you look at like snakes and certain reptiles that they hatch from eggs. When you look at the woman, when that water breaks, it's like you're also hatching. It's just that other reptilians, they basically do it outside where, they grow in that, the egg is hardened, and so they come out. So we're tied into that by way of the DNA. We're also tied into other beings like the shaggies, for example. When you see people that have hair in their body, on their bodies, like that ties into those shaggy beings as well. Not everyone has a lot of hair, but when you look at people that are very tall, that ties into some of these what they call the Nephilims. So depending on the throwback of genes, we are tied into the greys, because when you look at a baby in the womb, they've got the small body, big head, big eyes, and then we go through that process of going through the different natures, because over time, these genes also had an impact on us. So that's how we're tied into when we say we're reptilian. However, and of course, we have a reptilian brain. But then when you're dealing with other species of, like the dragon species, or like the draconians, or those reptilians known, there are many species. The Shamgal, you're dealing with some of the draconian races. Like, they show you a lot of pictures now of celebrities and people that shapeshift, that have reptilian, as in those actual descendants from those reptiles, like in the holy tablets. In fact, let me see if I can show you and pull out a few. So there are different types and different species. We also have the Natharu DNA and genes, and that's where we're trying to overcome that reptilian nature within us, that the world, the physical world, tries to feed that reptilian nature in you with those emotions that I was saying before, like anger and the foods we eat, etc. So I'm trying to see if I can find, this is from the holy tablets, where in chapter 1 it shows you the evolution. Chapter 1 is called the creation. Okay, it goes into and shows you the evolution of different beings. There's a particular, oh, here we go. Right. So if you look on page, for those who have the holy tablets, I'm going to go, if you look at page 161, I'm going to show you, if you can see that. So you can see how these types of reptilians evolved, and so those types of humanoid reptilians, the snake people, like those are the different species we're talking about that we are different from, but they exist. And you can see that in a lot of even social media now, where they're exposing and showing you those types of reptilians that I've just shown you. So I really hope that's helped you with that question. Yeah, so our part is quite a tiny part, in the sense of our ancestors, the Natharu, are predominantly the nature we lean to, and by way of teaching us how to suppress that reptilian nature in us to be more agreeable to the Natharu side. Okay, Grace and Joki 8123. Rahbat Musa, what is the difference between vegan and vegetarian? The real main difference is that a vegetarian still has dairy products. So that's like cheese and eggs, and whereas a vegan doesn't have any meat, flesh, or dairy products. So vegetarians will generally still eat, like I said, dairy products. That's your milk, cheese, eggs, and so on. But they don't eat like meat, but they eat the byproducts of meat, which to me is like you're eating it anyway, because like the egg, depending on how far developed it is kind of like the baby of a developing baby of the chicken. So yeah, that's the real clear distinction between vegan and vegetarian. A vegan strictly doesn't have meat, flesh, or any dairy products. All right. You can actually just Google some of these types of questions. How does, this is from Grace again, how do blood transfusion affect us? In many, many ways, because what's in the blood, the life is in the blood, and that blood, one has to be compatible with you anyway, and your blood replenishes itself. So you're taking in everything from the person that you're taking that blood from. And what is the difference? Sorry, no. How do blood transfusion affect us? They affect you because literally you're taking in the being of that person. And that could be agreeable, disagreeable, and it may not even be compatible with yours. And you could be taking in their diseases and all kinds of stuff that comes along with that. Of course, we're not giving any medical advice, and if people are in a situation, a life or death situation, and they need to take it, we are not here to make that decision for you, but it's a very serious thing that you're transferring from one person to another. Okay, let's keep going. And this is from Lady B38. Miss Batia is a beautiful language. What evidence is there of its historical existence, comparable to the documented records of cuneiform? When did humans stop speaking and writing in this language? Yeah, again, the language course we've just spoke about and put the link in the chat goes through all of that. The thing is that when you're studying language, you have to go, okay, who was here first? Because whoever was here first spoke and communicated. Most people, when they go to the beginnings or the origins of what they call the beginning, it's often a religious account. So, well, you have three major accounts. You have the religious account, and then you have like the scientific account, and then you have the real account. The religious account starts off with Genesis, if you're dealing with the monotheistic religions, basically even Islam talks about Adam being the first man made from the ground, and then Eve was taken out, and then everyone supposedly come from them, until you get to a point where conversations are taking place. If we're dealing with the Genesis story, then the conversations that are taking place are when the serpent appears and is speaking with Eve. But even before that, because you can go to like the books of Revelation talking about the heavens and the angels speaking and talking, and you have to ask, well, what language were they speaking? And when we get down to the planet Earth, you'll be like, okay, if you're going by the Bible, you're going to say that the Old Testament is in Hebrew, but we know that Hebrew, one, is not really a language, it's a dialect. And if you go to the New Testament, you're going to deal with the Greek. You go to Islam, you're dealing with the Arabic. And all of these do not predate other cultures like the Zoroastrians, the Mayans, the Yoruba, the Hindus, of course, the ancient Egyptians, and so the Sumerians. So you have to ask, well, what did they speak? Because there are artifacts and things they've found, buildings, temples, the pyramids, writing on them. And you get to cuneiform, you find the hieroglyphics, and all of these had a spoken language. So on our language course, we go into all the history in the great detail, and then you start to look at the references in the Bible, like Naphthuim, dealing with Napata, dealing with Meroe, dealing with the Nile Valley, dealing with those people that were here first and what they spoke. So there are many, many, many things that have been found, ancient tablets that talk about the records of, as you said, cuneiform and the hieroglyphics. But these were scripts. So you have to ask people, what was the spoken language? And the best that they do is go to translations by people who try to translate the cuneiform tablets and those who try to translate the hieroglyphics into what they call the metuneta. Metuneta becomes the language of the gods. And you ask them, well, what was that language? And we're telling you that those are scripts of our language. And in fact, in our language scroll, sometimes I can find books so easily, and other times, let me see if I'm sure. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so in the language of time scroll, which is this one, see, Palahej Shalel Wakot, the language of time. In here, it gives you all the evidence that is found, different tablets like the Sabian plate, like, you know, when you look at like Tut Anak Amun, or what they say Tutankhamun, Tutankhamun, you know, you got there's so many artifacts that have been found, and it gives you the origin of all the languages from Arabia, what you call in ancient Ethiopia, Shinar, which is Sumeria, and it goes all the way through to bowls that have been found in Sumer, going all the way, showing you the different scripts from not only the cuneiform, but going to the stela from ancient Egypt, going all the way to the different, like the Demotic script, the heretic limestone tablet that was found in ancient Egypt, the heretic script, as I've mentioned, all the way to the Chinese, the Japanese, the Sanskrit, Tamil, Korean. It gives you everything. And that language course I mentioned also goes through that in detail. So, yeah, you have to ask, what did the people speak? And those two scripts are scripts of cuneiform, of Nuwapic, which we know as our language, Mispatia, that was first. It even tells you when it was first brought down here from the stars, from our ancestors. I tell you, if you go through the language course, you will have every single detail you need to know about the language, and learn it, learn to write it, learn to speak it. So I hope that helps you. When did humans stop speaking and writing it? Well, it's not that it was stopped. I mean, it came 54,000 years ago, first to the females, and then so when we're saying, we did a video, is that video out yet, the Let My Words Be Known? Okay, when that comes out soon, it will also tell you, like, when we're saying the first people on the planet, we're saying the Homo naledi or Naledi, that would be the male of the Africans' brown germ, right? But then you have the Homo habilis, which will be the females, you see? So that's where the language started from, but it was brought down to the planet from our ancestors who taught the women. They had to carry out an operation by using the parrot and certain ancient species, and that's why, like, the parrot, as you know, says a few words, but they utilize the parrot to produce the larynx, which then eventually they taught the females how to speak this language. And then over time, it metamorphosized into the pictorial form of the scripts, and then you ended up with different people. The Europeans, as in the Adamites, they only learned that like 6,000 years ago. But as we say, our ancestors were speaking it many, many years ago, 54,000 years ago. But if you want to know more, get the language app. Okay, somebody's changed over time by different cultures or people Exactly. So you had the two streams going to the cuneiform, going to the hieroglyphics. Then you had the Phoenicians and different people coming in, borrowing, and over time you just had different accents. And then before you know it, it ended up with the Vikings who didn't know how to speak and they were just grunting because they, even till now, a lot of people don't have the ability to use their throat, their tongue, to basically make certain sounds. Was One Piece, this really popular series about pirates, about Atlantis and the islands behind the ice wall? Don't overstand that question. Or is that a conversation? And the same hero story, Nick. Okay, I'm going to move on to a question that is making sense, and that's from Unfolded Bible. What did Jesus mean by the kingdom of God is within you? And how is that not in direct tension with modern religious hierarchy? What he meant was you, right? It's within you. So people are searching outside of themselves when it tells you that God breathed into you and you became a living soul. When you say it's in direct tension with the modern religious hierarchy because they try to tell you to look outside of yourself, but yet told you your body is the temple. So you are the God, and it tells you even in the scriptures, in the Bible, Psalms 82:6, that you're God. It tells you that in Exodus 7:2 that Moses was made a God unto the Pharaoh. It tells you in, I think, John 10:34 that you are God. So the kingdom is within you, but you have to realize that. This is why it also says that, I'm going to just say this and take the call. It says the light is within you, but you don't know it. Greetings, Rahubat caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Good evening.
Get a minute, please. Greetings, Rahubat. Don't know what's going on.
My name is Allwell.
Unwell.
I'm calling Allwell from Nigeria.
Greetings, Rahubat, as we say.
All right. I want to know more about the OSM. Is it a brotherhood?
Sorry, you want to know more about OSM?
Is it a brotherhood?
Is it a brotherhood?
Yes. Yes.
No, OSM stands for Our Souls Matter, and that's both male and female. Everybody on the planet that has a soul, because the soul is what you need to activate. As I was just saying, it says, the light shineth within the darkness, and the darkness comprehends it not. The darkness is your body, and the light is within you, which once you activate that soul, that energy within you, you start to learn more about yourself and who you are, and then that will help you to elevate and learn more about you being the God that you're supposed to be. And then you develop to learning how to become a supreme being. You see, so OSM is a brotherhood and a sisterhood in terms of we're really here to cater to the world, to humanity, to anybody who would like to learn the truth. Does that make sense?
All right. Thank you. Yes, I got it.
Okay. Is that it?
Do you have a temple or gathering in Nigeria?
No. We do have people all over Nigeria that are, learning and growing, and we're anticipating and working to having, more outlets all across the world, especially you know, Nigeria and Africa as well. But yes, that's something we're working. There are people in Nigeria that are tuning in, and we're working towards getting that temple there as well. And we need help. We need people that are in Nigeria that, you know, would like to help to spread Wu-Sabat. And yeah, so if you're somebody that's interested in that, join our Telegram group, and we can communicate and continue that conversation. But yeah, we definitely have people in Nigeria that are asking us to come there and to have more outlets there as well. Which part of Nigeria are you based in?
How can I be a member? How can I join the OSM membership?
Yeah, we just on the YouTube channel, you can become a member. In the chat, we've been posting the links to our official Telegram group, because sometimes people still have to get more clarity, more questions answered. You can join any of our classes that we have regularly every week, and that's the first step. We've just posted the official Wu-Sabat Telegram group in the chat, so join that, and then we'll work with you to get you to to become a part of us. Is that
All right. I will join I'm going to join through the Telegram.
okay? So I was asking, where are you based? Are you in Lagos? Are you in Abuja? Where are you based in Nigeria?
I'm based in Abia State. Abia State.
Okay, right.
The eastern side of Nigeria. Eastern side of Nigeria.
Okay,
Abia State. Yes.
good to hear. Good to hear. How did you find out about OSM, if you don't mind me asking?
Through Facebook.
Oh, wow. Excellent. So it's working. Today, we're definitely trying to use all the platforms because we want to reach as many people as possible. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
So, does it require any payment to be a member?
No, no. But obviously, if you want to subscribe, there is paid content. But no, you don't have to pay. It's free. Our classes are free. We give out a lot of information. The Telegram group is free. We've got a lot of information from lots of videos that you can access on OSM for free. So yeah.
All right. Let me join through the Telegram now.
No problem. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, man. There's so much. Let me see if I can take some of the ones. Yeah, OSM Visions and other people who study the ancient past are like teachers from a distance. Sometimes I stay up all night researching. Yeah, that's a great point. Airman, I think it's Airman Jones 1. What's happening? The awakening is taking place. People are being activated and remembering who they are. And this information, by way of the master teacher, Partner Babianun, is activating people to the point where they're now able to tap back into themselves. Because remember, as a child, you get told to stop asking questions. You know, there are things you experience as a child, things you know, and as you're growing up, your parents or the adults or society starts to tell you to stop asking those questions. And so you suppress it. By the time you get older, they take you to church or, to the mosque, and then you just get indoctrinated by these dogmas until you get back older. If you have that spiritual connection, you will always have questions within you, but then you're not able to ask them because you're made to feel like a troublemaker or that you're blaspheming. And so as you get older, most people then go on their own spiritual journey until they come across, some people will jump from one religion to the other and they never get fulfilled. There's still a void because their questions are not being answered. and they know or they see things that don't make sense, but until OSM, until the master teacher, Pana Babyanun, in this day and time, many people didn't have a way to go and look for the truth. And we've made that possible. We got another caller? We've made that possible by way of helping Pana Babyanun, the master teacher, the black messiah, to spread this information to awaken those that are ready in this new 24,000 year cycle. All right?
Someone on Facebook said, "You've skipped my question. Please can you answer, how/when did telepathy evolve into languages?"
It's not so much that telepathy evolved into language. The beings on the planet were taught language, and it evolved from pictures, well, tones originally, because we have to go to how did we evolve? We originally evolved from the waters, and the beings that were seeded or were utilized to seed this planet were the dolphins. And as you know, the dolphins, they use echolocation to communicate. And so it was originally through tones, sounds and vibration. These tones eventually, because even if you look at the people like in Ghana or like, they speak with that click sound, right? That is coming from the waters. So it was originally more tones and vibrations and frequencies. And those sounds to relate became pictures. The pictures, that's why you have the pictograms, all right? So if you look at for the hieroglyphics, for example, which we know as the safuf, okay, which people call the metuneta, like it was pictures. And these beings that came down, our ancestors that came down from the Orion constellation and the Sirius star constellations, and they visited other places. So Mars, for example, before coming to the planet, those beings came and they taught these beings, the female beings that evolved from the waters, which we refer to as the Pataites, and they taught them how to speak, and then they learned to speak. When you're saying telepathy now, telepathy is later on where these extraterrestrial beings that were already highly developed, they're able to speak to you in your language, which you would have learned, because even when you read like the master teacher's encounter with these beings when they first came to him in New Jersey, in Teaneck in New Jersey, they were able to speak to him telepathically to calm him down, because like anybody else, if you see beings coming down from a craft, you're going to be afraid, especially if they look different to how, anything you've ever seen. So when they're using telepathy, what they're doing is they're able to communicate with you so you can understand. And you're only going to do that if you already have a language in your head, you see. So they will speak to you in English, and you will know, they will speak, and you will hear what they're saying in your language. So that's what happened. So they were able to calm him down, say, don't be afraid. And he explains in the Akasha Records, this scroll here, he explains that, he explains that he was able to know their names and could hear in his mind or his head what they were saying, and it was being interpreted in a language in English that he could understand. You see, so if you want to read more about that whole story, get this scroll, the Akasha Records, all right, series number 72, actual fact number 72. So I kind of gave you a breakdown of what's the last part of that question again? How
How did they evolve into languages?
Yeah. That's basically how it happened. So, yeah. All right. Any other questions? If not, I'll go back to. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot about the language today, which is great. Like anything else, you have to put the effort in. We've just helped to make the journey easier based on what the master teacher has taught us. Okay, there's some interesting questions here. Gosh, there's so many. I don't know where to start. Let me go to the top and go down. These bloody adverts. Okay, so the arrogance and ignorance of the human race has left your race ripe for the. Okay. Go on then.
What is the breakdown on the 7 characteristics of our soul? That's from Facebook.
Again, I don't know where the reference is coming from. If it's not Wu-Sabat, then I would like to know where you're getting that from. I don't have any references. Is that from one of our scrolls, or is that someone else just saying the 7 characteristics of the soul? Okay. Yeah, if you could give me the reference where you're getting that from, because the soul has more than 7 characteristics, but ultimately what the soul is truth. The soul deals with truth. It deals with pulling you upwards into truth, and everything that's pulling you downwards deals with basically lies. That's why truth is truth, and it speaks to your soul. And truth is, the soul is all about pulling you up to being a part of what we call the all expanding, or Pa'ut. And the spirit deals with things of this world, and the two can sometimes be not in conflict, but pulling and pushing, where one is trying to leave this dimension, these lower vibrations, and go back up. But to do that, you need to master the lower realms. You have if superiority is based on intelligence and technology, does that give moral authority, or only the ability to dominate? It's not just based on intelligence and technology. Yeah, I've been trying to juggle between the two. No, it's okay. Intelligence, yeah, the word intelligent really relates to the genes, the intel in your genes, meaning that you are encoded. And the encoding has to be deciphered so that you can then utilize the knowledge that you gain, because it's not about just having knowledge. Intelligence is about the intel in your genes, so that you can actually evolve genetically, and the knowledge you have is only useful if you do something with it or you use it. It's the same with technology. You can have technology, but there's different types of technology. There's natural technologies and there's artificial technologies, or as we say now, AI, artificial intelligence. There's natural intelligence, which deals with natural nature, which is how nature works, the nature of nature. Nature doesn't discriminate. Nature deals with truth. Things work in a specific design by these intelligent beings that have put things in motions in an intellectual way. Whereas when you're dealing with like things like dominating, lies, and trying to have authority over people and things, that's all to deal with the lower, less intelligence or artificial intelligence. And what you have to remember is we are in different systems and constructs that have been put in place by certain beings that we speak about, the Anunnaki, and we speak about the extraterrestrials that have been here for millions of years before our humanoid species, you see. So you have to remember that there are different realms and different constructs and different, what you might call, realities. So you have to learn about mastering the lower ones, like the physical, the material plane, the material realm. Then you go up to the spiritual, to the soul realm, to the mental realm, to the higher realms of ether, and each development. We got another caller? Okay. We got a call, so I'm gonna stop and take that call. Caller, what's your name? What's your question, and where are you calling from?
My name is Ali, and I'm now in Italy, but I'm a Ghanaian.
Okay, Tua.
Yeah, I've been hearing you for some months now, and I want to know if you have some peoples in Ghana that I can go there to learn more from them.
Tua, yes, we do. Our brother Duswa is on the YouTube channel as well. He's putting out a lot of information. He's in Ghana. We do have other people in Ghana. We're also, as we keep saying, we're going to expound and grow more in the different parts of the world, especially Africa. So yeah, the first thing we do is say connect with us so we can keep talking on Telegram, and then we can direct you and give you, refer you in the right places to the people that you can connect with. And there are people that have study groups that they're putting together, so on. So if you're really interested, the first thing is to join our Telegram group, which is in the chat, so we can keep talking to you and then direct you to the right people and give you the information.
Yes, you need. I just joined the Telegram group, but because I didn't want to join it in the first time, because I will be going to Ghana in January, and I just want to know if I go there, if I will get somebody that will
absolutely
I can go and see or contact that can help me go on with this learning. I'm very happy to encounter you people. You are very great people, and I'm very happy for the good work you are doing. And as I'm saying, I always move around the world, so I just want to get the Instagram, the Telegram group that you told me. I think it will be the best one to get now, because I just move around, and here in Italy, I know you don't have anybody here, and I'll be going to Ghana, and I just want to know if I can see somebody there that can help me learn more.
Yes, we definitely will put you in touch with the right person over there. All right.
Okay, thanks. So I've just joined the Telegram group, so I'm hoping for your response and how to get more teachings.
Yes, I mean, even in the Telegram group, there's so much information already. All you have to do is search at the top for any topic or anything you want to know more about. There are other student teachers in there as well. We have many people in there that teach on different aspects of our doctrine. So you're in the right place. And yeah, we will just ask questions in there, and somebody will definitely respond and get back to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Mitra T. Azad. I want to assist in this. I am applied metaphysics student and teacher. I think you have something that vibrate with me. Please PM me. All right. Yeah. This is fantastic. I think we're going to do this more because we're reaching people on other platforms that we don't normally use on a Tuesday. But yes, we will definitely, we have admins that are going to be looking at the chat, but we also keep asking everybody to go on the Telegram group because it's just like having one place where we can deal with everyone. So if you can, join the Telegram group as well. Okay. Okay, so someone's responding to that question. The breakdown on the 7 characteristics of our soul, of the human soul, truth is light, and any and all characteristics you can. Yeah, truth, you see, this is important. If it's your first time hearing our teachings or not familiar with what we teach, we take things and to a level where maybe people might not be familiar with. So when we say truth is light, that is not entirely true, but that's what you generally hear. People say, come into the light, the truth is the light and the way. But really, truth resides in darkness because light came from darkness, you see, and there had to be intelligence before the light came about, because light is composed of things that already existed, like photons, all right? And light is limited because light has a speed that it travels at. And it's traveling within darkness, which obviously is able to suppress it because it can't escape the darkness. So the darkness is actually, for lack of a better word, superior to the light. And light creates chaos and confusion because light can be used in a positive or a negative way. And there are different forms of light. The person people call Lucifer is called what? The light bearer. You see, so it's important that we recognize that when we're talking about, as you say, soul dwells in darkness. Things happen in darkness that people don't know about or aware about. So even the baby being grown in the womb, that's in darkness. Your mind and the thoughts are in darkness. You see, so it's important. The whole light and dark thing became a concept to try and introduce superiority and racism with dark people and light people. So we just want to make sure that, you know, you hear things like you need to be enlightened. And enlightenment, or those that are enlightened, they tie into what they call the illuminated ones, or those that are in the light. And this whole light coming to the light, when people are crossing over, they go back into the wormhole, which is a white light. You see, so we have to give you the knowledge about darkness and supreme balancement, which existed for light to come out of. All right, so I know what you mean, but we're really taking you back into darkness, because when we all go back into darkness, there is no distinguishing factors amongst people. We are one under supreme balance. And that's why darkness is where you go to get rest. When you want to sleep, when you want to have a good night's sleep or rest, you turn off all the lights, you see, because darkness is supreme. But there's a misconception because the bearers of the light, they push light. Rahubat, greetings caller. Where you calling from? What's your name and what's your question, please?
How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Trying my best. I got a question for the brother.
Go ahead.
Yeah, could you ask him?
You're speaking to me. You can ask me yourself.
Okay, that is Sakem, yeah?
Tua, yes.
Yeah, respect, bro.
Respect.
Being that the male is responsible for passing the soul of a human being on, am I correct in saying that according to your...
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, the male only can pass the soul on to the female, yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, this is the question,
Oh.
because I'm trying to understand or overstand how is that possible? Because the females were the first beings on the planet.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But you see, when we
That's-
say females on the planet, immediately what we do is we get into gender. The type of gender that we know, which is dealing with male and female organs. But there are gender types or beings that existed before the female and male genders on this planet. And that's where I think sometimes the confusion comes in, because there are beings that are not gender in the sense of what we consider to be gender, as in male and female organs. Do you follow?
No, could you make that clearer? 'Cause,
Okay.
I mean, I'm quite obviously of a mindset where there is one or the other.
Okay, so on the planet, the reason we distinguish male and females is based on gender, right?
Correct.
Right, but I'm saying before you come into a physical body, you don't have genitals like we do in a physical sense.
Sure, I fully understand.
So what I'm saying is that you're coming from one to splitting into two. When you're one, your energy, right? You have different, what you could call gender, but it's not in the physical sense. It's dealing with the energies.
Okay, so as not to lose you, so the male, let's say in this generation that
Yeah.
exists, not through the course of time, is it true that the male is responsible for passing the soul on to the
Yes.
female?
Yes, because what's happening is that these beings that I'm talking about that are outside the physical, which we may refer to as etheric or Etherean beings, right? They're coming from a higher realm as energy beings. So what's happening is that when the male is ejaculating, that sperm has to travel up the spinal column, right, as energy, and then it gets to the what we call the pineal gland, or what people call the crown chakra, where it gets ignited with this energy that is the seed, right? That seed soul is then passed down through the male to insert into the female, and then that electrically charged with that energy, pure energy, which we can refer to as an Ethereal being, is then grown within the woman's womb. And the males, that when you look at the placenta, that is actually growing from the male, and the woman then grows, and as the nurturer, as the mother, she then grows that entity, which the materials of the physical environment get drawn to that pure energy light being, yeah, and then that's the bacteria that she's taken into a physical body from the elements of the planet, like breathing in the dust particles, and then that gets attracted. That's the bacteria that the energy attracts. Then it's like magnetism, and then the blood and everything else work together in the darkness of the womb to form the limb. So an easy way of explaining it is like you're coming from from high density, okay, that density comes to matter. Yeah, you've got different forms of matter, and then that matter then gets into what we call atoms. Then the atoms then form the cells then grow and form the organs forms the body, but it's all starting from that soul or that pure energy being, and then the baby grows.
Can I?
And
I
comes
don't
out.
mean to interject.
No, go ahead.
Because you see, quite obviously, you know exactly what you're saying. I'm kind of at a loss. So the entities
Yeah,
that are, let's say, in the spiritual realm, waiting for that sperm to travel up the spine
yeah.
to get charged. What dimension are those entities on to create the soul?
Right. That's why I said before, you have, if we look at it like the realms, yeah, you have the physical realm, which is the material, the more or less, or the density that we're in is more, it's a slow vibration where things are held together more densely. But above that you have the spiritual, and then above that you have the soul realm. Then above that you have the mental realm. Above that you have the etheric realms. And in scientific terms, this is where you're going beyond what we call hydrogen. Yeah, because when you look at the periodic table, coming to the more dense side, you have H1, H2, hydrogen, helium, etc. coming this way to the noble gases, etc. But when you go to the other way, that's where we're dealing with the etheric realm or the ethers, E1, E2.
Not to lose you. Quite obviously, you know exactly what you're saying. But what realm charges the sperm to? So when it goes into the female, becomes a soul. Is it
the mental?
spirit?
It's the mental, because everything is actually mental. That's why I said to you that the fourth one is the mental. So, I mean, there are different variances between the different realms, but I'm just giving you them in a very simplified manner, where we say the physical, the spiritual, the soul, the mental. It's the mental.
Okay.
That's where the activation takes
Okay,
place.
not cutting, because I mean, I'm trying to make this simple for myself as well as those that are listening, because quite obviously you know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the male is responsible for every human being that has a soul on the planet, correct?
Sorry, say that bit, that last part again.
No, I'm asking you, it's through the male that passes the soul on to every human being on the planet.
Yes,
Is that correct?
on the when you come down.
So,
sorry.
okay, I haven't quite finished my sentence yet. If you just bear with me.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So if the male is responsible for passing the soul on to every human being, you're saying the only male that can actually do that is what you call I forget the name that you call black people in your language? The Makasu?
Sorry, I didn't go ahead. I didn't hear what you're saying. You're saying I said what exactly?
No, I'm asking you. Yeah, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. Yeah, I'm just trying to follow you.
Okay, I'm asking you. Yeah, is it only the black male, the Nubians, or I don't know what you call it in your language, Makasu or something like that, black people? Is it only black people that can pass on the soul to other human beings, from what I've gathered from your information? Do you understand that?
Yeah, I do. I'm saying that we don't even use the word black in that sense, but not everybody has a soul, if that's what you're asking, because
So what race can pass on souls to other human beings? Is it only what do you call
the
black people in your
what you're
language?
calling black were here first, and everybody comes from us, unless you're dealing with hybrids that were basically, a hybrid is a being that takes what's already here physically and then add their own DNA and genetics to produce something else. So there are extraterrestrial beings that have mixed with humans on the planet to produce hybrids, But
Not
every
not to cut you. Could you give me an example of what an hybrid is? Could you name someone out there? Is it
yeah, the Adamites.
Jay-Z,
So
Beyonce? Give me an example of a hybrid.
there's so many different hybrids, because when we say hybrids, right, we're talking about, okay, let me explain it like this. The original root races on the planet, the first root race, which is indisputable, is what people are calling the Africans, yeah? And then
Africans.
yes, as in, I'm just using that loosely, but we can say the Nagaru, or dealing with the original beings that were grown on this planet, okay? And I'm saying that everything else comes from that blueprint. So the mixture of, say, another extraterrestrial race that came here and took, okay, let's say the Anunnaki, for example, they came here and they took that which was already growing as the Pataites, took them and produced a hybrid that they call a Lulu-Amilu, okay? Then you have the Adamites of 6,000 years ago, which the Pleiadians came and did the same thing and took them and injected their DNA to produce the Adamites of 6,000 years ago. And you have different species that have come from different places, different star systems. And like, if you look at the Asian races, for example, right, you have beings that came and settled in like what you're calling India or Bali, and they also produced offspring. You had many, many different, the shaggy beings came here. There are different types of extraterrestrial beings that came here, but the point is that the original, the first, came from our ancestors, the Natharu, who seeded this planet with their DNA that then evolved. I'm talking about when you're dealing with humanoid beings anyway, that then seeded the planet, and beings came out of the waters, which we refer to as the, you know, the Pataites. But they were in the seas. There were many beings in the seas before coming onto land, like the sirens and different.
Could I just jump in there?
Yeah, sure.
See, because you see, the essence of my question is who is responsible for passing the soul on to other human beings? Do the Shaggies or the Asians, the Caucasians,
and the Negroids?
You know, I'm just trying to establish who passes the soul on to human beings, other human beings. Because at the end of the day, the questions that I really want to ask is if the male is responsible for passing the soul on. Yeah. So what happens if say I'm trying to establish what you call so-called black people? I think it's Makasu or something like that. Let me finish, please. If a black female was to have a child for a Caucasian or Asian, does that child have a soul, being the fact that it's the female that has produced the child and not the sperm of a black male? I mean, I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say.
The black female, if she has a soul, then yes, she will pass it on. But what I'm saying is, the origin.
Yeah, but how is that possible if the soul comes from the male? What is it you call black people in your language? Please, can you just, so I can get it right?
Okay, I would suggest you get a hold of a scroll called Soul, Spirit, right? Because we have books that deal with that subject specifically. But what I'm saying to you is, once the spark takes place, the female's also involved, because you're dealing with the combination. It's just that the starting or that spark that takes place is done when the two interact. So when that soul comes down, it's an energy that goes into the female, but the female is also involved to produce the child. So it's not just like the male alone. The male just, as you said, like by way of the sexual act, okay, that seed is seeded by the male. The male is the one that impregnates the woman. But there were times where, this is what I tried to say to you before, where when you go into other genders, which are not dealing with just X and Y chromosomes, right? Because we just look at gender as male and female, but there were other gender types where you had a female that is male as well, which we say hermaphrodite and hermaphrodites, where a female was able to impregnate herself because she also had the ability
A female was able to how is that possible?
well, you need to do some research. It's called asexual reproduction, parthenogenesis. All right, these are terms you can Google and look and research, because that's what I was trying to explain to you, that when you start to deal with genitals and deal with sexual organs, when you study a female, she has something called a clitoris, which is a small penis, because when you look at how gender is formed from that, when you're genderless, because you come here but you're genderless initially, and then you can either go in one direction where the phallus or the penis becomes elongated and comes out, or it goes the other way where it goes into forming a vagina, but the vagina still has that small part which we refer to as the clitoris in females. Now they were able to secrete fluids from that just the same way as the penis secretes fluids. So it's not as simple as just male and female, because you have XYX chromosomes, or beings that have XYX. You have beings that have YXY, as opposed to just XX and XY. These are the
Could you give me I don't mean to cut you, but could you give me an example of the XYX chromosome?
Yes.
Could you, for instance, Akhenaten, the pharaoh? I mean, did he have XYX or?
Yeah, because he was what people would term a hermaphrodite. These are the different genders that I'm talking about. You can have a hermaphrodite and a hermaphrodite. These are the beings that have the ability to reproduce by themselves. This is why when we deal with asexual reproduction, if you go back and look at how cells, that's why I gave you that whole hierarchy of coming from density to matter to atoms to cells to organs to bodies. This is not just dealing with the humanoid, because you can look at the plant life, you can look at, other species in the waters, like, there are different, like jellyfish, and there are different species that don't have the same, genitals or organs that make us as male and female genders, you see. So it is a complex, in terms of like the evolution. It's not, this is something, you sound shocked when I said that the female was able to reproduce by themselves. But
brother, that's not something we learn in school, is it?
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying that now, today, we're living in the information age, and you can just Google this, and we obviously...
What do I Google?
Parthenogenesis, asexual reproduction, females being able to procreate by themselves. But
give me an example. Give me an example of a female that was able to procreate by herself without a penis of a male.
We have a book called Is God Male or Female, yeah?
You have a book called Is God Male or Female?
Yeah, the reason I'm telling you that, because the references that you're asking for are in those books with examples of real life situations. But you can also, as I said, you can AI these days, you can use AI, you can Google, you can find out. ChatGPT, yeah, you can even use that if you want. And study what I'm saying to you, okay? Study parthenogenesis, study asexual reproduction, study, there's something called the baffling gland, yeah? Research these things and then come back next week. And if you have an open mind...
My question hasn't been answered. I mean...
Well, sometimes people can get an answer. Because we're speaking over each other right now. Let me finish, please. Sometimes people ask a question. Brother, please, let's be cordial. I'm saying, when you get an answer of something you've never heard before, until you go and actually do the research and check it out for yourself, it's just my word, right? And I'm saying to you that sometimes people want to hear an answer that they want to hear, as opposed to the answer that is being given. And you don't have to agree with me, because at the end of the day, truth is truth, facts are facts. It's not, I don't have a monopoly on the truth, and nor do you. And I'm saying that people who have studied this, I'm even looking in the chat, people are responding, people that have studied this know this, and it's like anything else. If you study it, do the research, there are specialists in these areas that will confirm what I'm saying. But I'm going to stop so you can finish off. I've got other questions to take, but I'll let you finish off.
So, what is a soul? How does that differentiate between, let's say, a spirit? I mean, how does that make you different from anyone else?
Okay, the soul is the emotion. You have two souls, right? You have one which is called the ruach, or the ruah, which is the breath of life. And these questions you're asking me, if I was to ask you, where did you even come across the reference of the soul, right? It's going to be either from a religious book or from a scientific perspective. But I'm saying to you that there are two souls. One of them is the one that is known as the Ba'a in our ancient times, which is dealing with the emotional you. So when you ask me what's the difference between anything else, living things vibrate and they have a spirit. Not everything that lives has a soul. Examples: animals, trees, rocks. These are things that exist that have a spirit, but they do not have a soul because they cannot like express themselves like emotionally like how we do by dancing or the creative side of us. The breath is the other one, which deals with the ruach, wind, breath, because you have to breathe, right, to feel the energy that fills you, which is taking in oxygen, which burns and gives off carbon dioxide. This is known as the breath, or the burning, that interacts with something called your solar plexus that utilizes that energy of breathing. So these two in combination is what makes beings with soul, and that soul is in contact with natural nature on the higher vibrations. That's why if you're not connected to natural nature, you cannot have rhythm and you cannot dance and you cannot move with natural nature. You follow me? Whereas a tree cannot dance and cry and, like express itself, nor can a rock, but it's still alive because it has a vibration and a spirit, like animals do as well. All right. I do have to move on. Do some research on what I've said, but
brother, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Wadu. Gosh, we've run out of time. We've got 3 minutes left. Yeah, I get it. Sometimes people, we have to give, and but unfortunately, for those of you who haven't got your questions answered, I mean, we do have classes every single week, and we have classes on Tuesdays on these channels live, and Saturday, where you'll always have a student teacher. We have the Telegram group where you can ask your questions. So if you didn't get your question answered today, join the Telegram group and ask it, and we will answer it there. If not, join us Saturday. There are classes in other parts of the world too. New Jersey, they have classes as well. New York, we have many classes. So I know everyone around the world needs to get Wu-Sabat. And unfortunately, we have run out of time. I'm just scanning through. We want to thank all the newcomers that have joined us on, on the other platforms, Facebook and so on. So, join the Telegram group. Good to have you on board. And we have so many books that cover every subject and every question that, you've heard today. We need people that are switched on, that are awakened, just so we can get Wu-Sabat to the world. Did you want to say something? Okay. So yeah, until next time, next week, same time, same place, we want to say Wadu. And it's been a pleasure, as usual. Freedom for the Master Teacher. Oh yeah, before I go, did you post a link? So the theme song you hear us playing, we have put it out for you to basically download. It's like £1, which is probably like a $1.50 or something in dollars. Yeah, support by everything that comes from that goes towards the legal. So play that song loud and support us and support our other projects too. We have so much to give you, and keep tuning into OSM Vision, because the tap is going to keep running with knowledge until the master teacher is here with us in the flesh. All right, till next time, signing off. Wadu.